Well, the results are in, and this is a bad look for the Hugo Awards right as they're coming up. This is everything that got warned about back in the Sad Puppies days about the quality of science fiction dropping to drastic levels. And that's exactly what's happened with the mainstream publishing establishment. We covered yesterday on the channel a anti-AI story that was just the worst drivel I've ever seen, and it was getting accolades and republished by mainstream media outlets. And I took it and I ran it into AI and I rewrote it with AI in like 30 seconds and made a better story than the actual science fiction that was being hailed up in Lightspeed magazine and the like. And that's the absolute state of short fiction, as we're going to see right here how bad it actually is. Now, this is a blog from Rich Horton. He's been a reviewer for Locus Magazine since 2002. This is one of the people who knows literary science fiction and better than probably anybody else out there. And he's showing warning signs that the quality of work right now is nowhere near where it should be. And this is what got voted for, or rather what didn't get voted for, which I'll talk about why the Hugos is in massive trouble and more than just this in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button, everybody. We are making science fiction fun again. We're changing the culture. We're doing it independently because, of course, mainstream publishing is out there publishing drivel. It's navel-gazing stuff that does not exemplify what science fiction should stand for. They've lost their sense of wonder. They've lost their sense of heroism. They've lost their sense of excitement. There's no authenticity to it. It's just anger just being projected by these people politically over and over and over again. And so we are trying to do something different and make great science fiction again. And I need you to, of course, follow guys along and get on my newsletter. This is so important because I'm releasing stuff very regularly. I'm so excited about what the future holds because we're making some of our best content ever. You get 3 free books just for signing up. It's a sci-fi novel, a fantasy novel, and a full graphic novel of my superhero universe, which is a lot of fun. An older Hugo Award nominated magazine editor actually said it's the best superhero graphic novel of the last decade. So I appreciate you guys being here and building this up. We are growing so fast, all because of readers like you. And, this is what we're going to be announcing soon. This is my Valiant Frontiers. I'm building a space exploration series, which I hope I'm going to continue on. If this does very, very well, it's not just going to be a trilogy. I'll continue it on. But for now, it's going to be a trilogy, and it starts right here. This beautiful hand-drawn art by Manuel Guzman, who's one of the best science fiction artists out there. And we are going to be coming out with these books very, very shortly on Fund My Comic, where I'm going to be releasing some very cool stuff. And if you're a big fan of some of my universe stuff, we're going to be doing a leather-bound edition of the Orishan War. And the Orishan War was my original sci-fi trilogy, which, of course, a lot of people got in on. We are building something awesome here. So make sure to sign up for the newsletter so you don't miss when this comes out. So fun. And thanks, guys, being here. I do have Amazon links in the description below if you want to support our channel. Thanks for being here. And hit the like and subscribe button, and let's get into the news. Okay, so this is, again, Rich Horton, who says, the Hugo 2025 Best Short Story Ballot. Well, while his title's pretty bland, what he really means is the 2025 Hugo Best Short Story Ballot sucks. And that's pretty obvious going in. If you look at just like the nominations for the Hugo Awards, not many people voted whatsoever. There's some categories where like less than 20 people voted for something and got them on the Hugo Award ballot. It's really dying off. Nobody's caring about this science fiction establishment anymore. And the reason is because they've turned this into some weird identity politics club rather than actually promoting great science fiction and strange new worlds and the like. It's not something that they do anymore. So science fiction is a problem because none of these people actually write science fiction anymore. And that's what it comes down to. Now, they've made this club so insular. Worldcon's diminishing. People are saying they're not even going to go this year. There's another story coming out saying that 2027's in peril. They might not even have a Worldcon because of how dire things are. And that is just where things have gone. Now, the alarm bells were rang about 10 years ago when a group formed called the Sad Puppies, and they realized that science fiction was nominating this kind of drivel, identity politics crap. There was a short called "If You Were a Dinosaur, My Love." If you don't know about this, where it is a woman just fantasizing about having sex with a dinosaur. Yes, I'm dead serious, and that's all it was. And it won. Yay. And so they put that kind of stuff on there, and it's like, what is happening to science fiction here? That's not science fiction. How does this even on here? That is what spurred people to go, okay, we need to try to take things back. And so a bunch of people got together, made an awards slate of just some books that they thought were good, some stories that they thought were good, and said, this is what the best of their science fiction is for real. This is what the fans actually want. And what happened was the science fiction elites actually voted to have no awards across all of it to try to just spank them for paying attention to what was going on. And then they changed their rules to make it much, much harder for anybody to actually do things. Well, now it got easier again because nobody cares anymore. The award nominations have dropped drastically over the last several years. People are not tuning in. People are not paying attention to any of this stuff. Again, fetish novels being up for the Hugo Awards is called Someone to Build a Nest In, about a monster girl who's in love with another monster girl or human girl in a lesbian fetish relationship where she's going to try to cannibalize her or something like that, because it's very creepy stuff. And they're saying that's the best of the year. It's what's going on here? Like I said, not science fiction. That's why we're working so hard to take this back here, and I can't wait to get this out to you. This is going to be the best science fiction in 2025 right here. But this is what we have out now. So this is what Rich Horton says. He says, that's the background. I've now read the 6 short stories on the 2025 Hugo final ballot. I'll discuss each story briefly, then give my for now ballot, and then make a few remarks about the state of nomination voting, which I will possibly be familiar to anyone who has read me when I do these things for at least a decade. I will say these 2 things up front. None of these stories are bad. Well, he's trying to say this. I haven't read them, but I'm going to venture to guess that's not correct. I think he's trying to be very political and be nice, constructive criticism. But if you're talking a Hugo Award ballot, you shouldn't have constructive criticism. They should be the best of the best. And unfortunately, none of these people write the best of the best fiction whatsoever at this point. So do they really deserve a Hugo? Let's see. And here he goes. So this one is a flash fiction. The first one is called 5 Views of the Planet Tartus by Rachel K. Jones. And as you can see, it's only 600 words long. So why did this get nominated? Does it deliver? And this is it. Is it good for its length? Yes, it is. If I was an editor, it came across my desk, I'd have bought it. Is it worthy of a Hugo? I don't think so. Uh-oh. This is a bad start for the nominations of the awards right here. 600 words is not too much. I could probably write something like this in AI pretty easily, and that's what I proved yesterday with these saleable fictions out there, which is really, really funny. Now, we will teach you how to read. This is the next one. Oh, boy. So you can see this stuff here this is going to be a condescending sort of deal. And you notice one thing. This is Rachel. We got Caroline. You're going to see what do we got here? Isabel. We are going to have Mary Robinette Kowal, who just got nominated for Her Name. Nevo. Let's see. Is this? What's this? That's another large woman. Okay. And then we have Arkady Martin. I'm not sure who that is either. Are they all? Oh, all of them. Oh my gosh. What's happening here? There are zero men writing science fiction. Apparently, that's worthy of the Hugo Award. Now you can see where the problem is, because a lot of these people, go on their little emotional rants, and that's exactly what all of these are right here. Now look at this second one. The first one was a 600-word flash fiction that says it's a pretty good flash fiction, not worthy of a Hugo Award. And this is, by the way, this is a guy in the establishment who's signing the alarm bells. This is not my reviews of this stuff. I don't know that I'm going to sit and take the time to read these, because I know exactly how these go. So here it is. This is the beginning of this. The story never tells you exactly what's going on. Well, then it's not a story, is it, Rich? Oh my gosh. It's a record of interactions between one race and another, one race trying to communicate with the other. Implication is that it represents aliens coming to Earth. But the story is more universal than that. And there it is. It's intriguing. Formally experimental, essentially the newest story on the ballot. It's the kind of story I want to see. Happy to have read it, and it's on my ballot. Having said that, I do think while it's successful in its own terms, it didn't quite wow me in the way my favorite stories has, because it's not really a story, right? He just says that up front right there, and it's a big problem. Why don't we just kill the kid in Omela's hole? Oh boy, killing kids. This is going to be a great one right here. The story and the dialogue of the ones who walk away from Omela's. I should note right away, there are a lot of pieces in dialogue. So this is only in dialogue. So yes, this has been done. Does it say anything new? Absolutely not. So this is a kid in suffering and the like. It's effectively dark, a good story, maybe really good. and pretty explicit in contemporary points. That's it, guys. Contemporary points. That means it's very, very leftist political right there. That's the reason it got on here. I liked it. Of course he did. It won all these other awards. But I think everything the story says is implicit in Le Guin's original, which is so this is literally just a copy of Ursula Le Guin book story. That's really, really funny. Now, Mary Robinette Kowal, we know, is a political choice, and that's what's in here. Fairly conventional medievalist fantasy world, but she's a peasant woman. Let me guess. She's going to be oppressed by men. Caring for her mother in a cottage of the estate of Lord Strange. Her and her mother both worked at the Lord's house and had to stop where the older woman became ill. The Lord had given them the cottage to live, and they have just barely enough to get by, along with her 10-year-old brother. And a giant is attacking. Okay. And, of course, Marjorie manages to save the day because she's a strong female lead. The heart of the story is a aftermath in which, plainly rather than mundanely told on purpose, purposely mundanely told, interesting, the only real results is Lord Strange realize he hasn't valued his servants. Oh, because they're women. Right? And imagination highly enough. Yes, we don't value the women's imagination highly enough. Oh, another feminist piece of drivel right here. He calls it didactic. There we go. Fun. It's fine, not great. Now, like I said, I think this guy's being political in this type of stuff because if he savages Mary Robinette Kowal too much, he might get blacklisted from all this. Not good. This is, for a normal person, probably going to be unreadable, right? A young woman of Asian descent, stitched to skin-like family, who has the power to sense past events experienced by whoever has worn a piece of clothing she holds. Okay, so this is a standard, psychic trope. My favorite one of this was called Chew. It was a comic book where the guy, if he ate something, he could sense, its last moments. And so he was an investigator, and he had to eat, people's, dead flesh to, find out. It was really creepy. That was a funny comic book. So this sounds like a very similar concept right here. Effective enough, well-written. The narrator and her brother come through well, and the other characters are ciphers. The magic is a device. I like to see more from fantasy. It's not science fiction, of course. But come to mind, a Hugo candidate. See the problem here? Medieval fantasy, a dark fantasy about, whatever. There's the one science fiction story so far is not even a full story, right? And that's where we're at this point. It's really crazy at this point. The next one, this one didn't quite come through. It's a beheading, a historical event that's happening here. What is it? Okay, so the story is philosophically interesting, which means it's leftist, intriguingly narrative, and the point is intelligent and meaningful, which means it's leftist. Still a story, qua story didn't really thrill me. I can definitely see nominating this for Hugo. In any given year, I don't think I'd vote it first. So all of these stories, in layman's terms, and in what he won't tell you, suck, and they're boring, and they're not science fiction for the most part. And so it shouldn't be up for the science fiction award. This is crazy what's happening, and this is exactly what was warned against. So he says, what's this mean for my voting? I'll note one thing in advance. I haven't really read many more 2025 short stories. Though in 2021, I typically felt I could speak authoritatively within my bounds of my personal taste for which stories were the best in any given years. And he's actually this guy's done the best of science fiction and fantasy compilations before. I mean, that's kind of what he's known for. In those days, I read literally hundreds, even thousands of short stories every year and basically everything from the top markets. That's not so anymore. Well, why haven't you, Rich? And I can tell you why. Because who's at the top of the markets now are only these aspiring wannabe literary writers who are women telling their little political dramas, pretending like it's fantasy and science fiction, and they're just crap. That's what it is. That's why you don't read anymore. That's why nobody's reading this stuff anymore. That is the big subtext here that he's not going to get into, but I'll tell it plainly like it is, because they've destroyed the science fiction and fantasy markets the way that they've done these things, and that's exactly what's going on. It's all because of diversity, equity, and inclusion just absolutely upending all of this. So here it is. I can't really tell you there's a number of stories that deserved a Hugo nomination as much as these stories did, but I strongly suspect that's a case. One reason is a long-standing complaint. The 6 stories on the short story ballot come from 3 sources, all online, all free to read. 3 from Uncanny, 2 from Lightspeed, 1 from Clark's World. Now, everybody warned back in the day that there was a gatekeeping group of science fiction. They all come from the same spots, and they all get promoted by Tor or Tor.com, and that was the big warning sign that was happening there, and that's a big deal. And now this has come to fruition again. This is really crazy. There are 3 of the top 4 sources of online science fiction and fantasy, Tor.com being in the 4th. They are fine e-zines as usual in recent years. There's nothing from the print magazines, Asimov's Analog or FNSF, because nobody's reading them, or any of these others. It's been for years, and the chief reason The stories don't get nominations is you have to pay to read them. Oh boy. Nobody's paying for short fiction. This is why you don't have professionals writing short fiction, period. That's how it goes. They destroyed these markets, like I said. And then given that caveat, this is how he's voting. So this is a big red flag. If Rich Horton is saying these things are not deserving, they are not deserving on a level that's even further than he's implying here, because these are just unreadable drivel that are not even science fiction. That's what it's coming down to. That's what the short fiction markets have become. That's what the Hugo Awards have become, and that's all Worldcon is at this point. I've done a video showing their guest list and how there's like people's names. Nobody knows who they are. They're not real professional writers. They have made themselves an insular club to the point where they don't even know what good fiction is anymore, and that is what happened to mainstream science fiction establishment publishing. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this, my friends. Are you going to read any of these or vote for them? Let me know. Hit the like and subscribe button. Guys, sign up for my newsletter. So important. Got 3 free books. This is going to be the science fiction of the year. I'm so hyped for this. This is really, really good stuff. It starts with The Soul Catcher, 3 books. Valiant Frontiers is going to be the future, and I appreciate you guys for reading. It all starts right here on the newsletter. It's in the description below. We'll be back soon.